All right, let's jump in. Everybody can see this, right? Everything's good.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Sees it.
All right. So we have supplements. Nice little hot topic. Everybody's always interested in supplements. So um, this is a very minimalist guide to supplements because really supplements should only be used pretty minimally anyway. We all kind of know here the deal when it comes to fat loss, muscle gain, mostly about calories. Period. Everything else is just kind of a bonus. But some supplements actually are worth it. And I want to explain these supplements. You guys probably see me talk about them, but also go over the research that kind of shows why I say that they are good and not just saying it for the hell of it. So we'll get into it. Which ones are worth it? Which ones aren't? Why? And I'll give you guys direct links to the ones that I think are useful. So first and foremost, you do not need supplements to succeed in anything in life. But when it comes to fat loss, muscle gain, you absolutely do not need them. Period. They're not step one, step two, or even step five. They do have a place and a purpose, but it is much further down the path after calories, after training, after sleep, after everything else, after your step count, way past all of that. Supplements can help. Some of them can be actually pretty useful, but again, nothing compared to what your calorie intake is going to be, what your tracking accuracy can be, what your sleep can be, your steps can be, and all that. All right, so I just got to get that out of the way, just as a little housewarming here to make sure this doesn't get disconstrued. All right, supplements can be helpful, but they are absolutely not needed, or even a main pillar of anything. Now, that being said, um, people are going to use them anyway, regardless of what I say. So I want to at least give you the ones that are useful. There's, I would say, the best marketing I've ever seen comes from the supplement industry. Even I want to buy shit that I know doesn't work when I look at a supplement. I'm like, wow, that seems fucking awesome. Even though I read all the research to know that's bullshit, it still looks good, right? They do a really fucking good job of marketing. So you guys are going to use supplements regardless of whether they're useful or not. So I'm going to tell you which ones actually are useful and which ones to actually get if you're going to get them, and why they can help, and show you the research as to why. So a lot of people actually still use supplements. The biggest one is so simple. It's just to fill micronutrient gaps. All right, when you're eating in a calorie deficit, it's already pretty damn hard to get all the food that we need, right? We're focused on getting the right type of food, to fillers, to stay full, to get fiber, to get all this kind of stuff, that it's pretty damn hard. All right. It's going to be really hard to get the right micronutrition, right? I mean, that's the last thing on our heads is how much vitamin K we have, right? It's not, it's going to be very unlikely that you're not going to have a hole somewhere. So to fill micronutrient gaps is number one. Why that's important for fat loss, I'll come back to. Number two, convenience for hitting protein. A lot of you guys, like when we started doing this thing, we'll give you a protein minimum and a calorie ceiling. For a lot of you, that protein minimum was really hard to get, really foreign. It was really difficult. Weren't used to getting those protein, and protein does play a really important part in preserving muscle as you're losing weight, or obviously in gaining muscle when you're gaining weight. And so, if you're not hitting the protein targets, protein supplementation can really obviously help, and it's the best quality source of protein. So there is use for that. Then there's a performance recovery edge. So if you look at pre-workouts, things like that, which we'll get into, there is a little bit of a benefit from a performance standpoint. And then we will get into the placebo/routine benefits. So we're going to look at which ones actually have use versus in the research and which ones do not. But typically, this is why we're doing it. For protein, fill micronutrients, and some sort of performance recovery edge. So big caution sign. We went over this. I think we hit this pretty hard in this group. I think it was like last month or something when the creatine gummies came out that were all bullshit, and there was a whole bunch of other supplements that were bullshit. So we have to say this first, okay? The supplement industry is sketchy to say the least. Okay, the FDA does not pre-approve supplements. Okay, the quality varies tremendously. There was the creatine that just came out recently where they sampled a whole bunch of different companies. They did this with a whole bunch of different supplements where they tested a bunch of supplements. They looked at the active ingredient that was in those supplements. Like, let's say it was creatine supplement. They looked at the level of creatine in the supplement. And I think it was somewhere around 2/3 of the companies that they tested had zero of that ingredient, or at least very little of the ingredient, nowhere near the amount that was labeled. So you really have to know where you're getting this stuff from, okay? Because it's not regulated. It doesn't have to be by law. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And they're marketing to you in a way that makes you buy it. They're giving you something that's probably fake because of the placebo effect. You're going to feel it anyway, which is a whole other thing. So even if the supplement is fake, you may still feel the benefit, but that's just a placebo. And then that may cause you to keep buying it and blah, blah, blah. So you just got to be aware of these things. The company that I recommend, Prestige Labs, which I'll have links for, they are third-party tested rigorously. Okay, so these guys are very legit. There are some good brands out there. Legion is another one. But you have to make sure, if you're even getting vitamin D, you have to make sure it's third-party tested, okay? If you're on Amazon, you're searching for vitamin D or B1 or something, always add third-party tested next to it when you're searching it. You want to make sure you're actually getting the supplement. The last thing you want to do is get a supplement, which can only help marginally anyway, and then you buy the supplement, you spend time and money on it, and you're not even getting the damn supplement that can only do a marginal improvement anyway. So make sure you're getting a third-party test. It's really important. Now, multivitamin. This is number one. Okay. Again, when you're in a calorie deficit, you're already having to lower your calorie intake. Now, a lot of you guys know that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to lower your food intake. You can eat a lot of food for a little amount of calories, right? That's what we teach over and over. But that being said, the types of food that you're probably going to flock to are probably going to be the same foods over and over. If you get really used to eating, cauliflower rice and peppers and onions and mushrooms or something, you're probably going to eat that pretty commonly. And so whatever vitamins and minerals you're getting from those foods are all the vitamins and minerals you're probably going to get, which means you're lacking a lot of other vitamins and minerals. We all kind of know vitamins and minerals are important. And we all know that you're probably deficit in at least some of them, if not most. And so a multivitamin can absolutely help. Number one, you need to make sure that, again, the company that you're using is third-party tested. There are a lot of different vitamins and minerals that go into a multivitamin, okay? You want to make sure it's third-party tested, otherwise you're just going to get junk. Half those companies out there, they're clean, they're the thing, they're the shit. It's probably bullshit. The second thing you want to look at a multivitamin is to make sure you're actually getting enough dose of the vitamin for it to be worth it. Now, I'm not going to get into that too much right now because it would take me a lot to just have you guys understand how much and which type of vitamin and mineral is important. There are different types of forms of certain vitamins which are important. Some get absorbed, some don't. Then there's some that are more expensive than others, and so supplement companies will obviously put the ones that are least expensive in there. That doesn't mean that you're actually going to get them absorbed. So there's a lot of different types in here. There's also a lot of different amounts. You should be getting good quality supplements or good quality certain vitamins and minerals, but not enough to do anything. Okay, so this Prestige Labs is the company that I recommend. If you scan these QR codes, you can do it directly right here in the slide. It should bring you right there. Lynn, do you want to double check that, make sure it actually works? The QR.
I'm on the phone, so I don't.
If anybody has a phone, everybody want to check that, make sure it actually works. Everybody's probably using their phone.
Checked out that it's working.
It's probably using it. It works. Sweet. All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Cool. So basically, what I've done already is give you the multivitamin that I already know is tested. It has the right amounts in there. Legion has another one that's really good. But what you'll notice about these guys is if you guys get this multivitamin, or if you've used Legion's multivitamin, you'll notice that the serving is about 8 pills. Yes, that's how much shit you should be taking, right? If you're getting enough of the vitamins and minerals that you actually need and the dose that's actually useful, that's how much a multivitamin should actually be. It's going to be like 10 pills because you can only shove 5 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, right? What I mean by that is there is no way in hell you are getting enough of a multivitamin and mineral in one little tablet that you're taking every day. Not a chance. So those things are completely useless. What you'll notice about these supplements and Legion is that their pharmaceutical dose, which just means you're getting enough of it to make the difference. But it's also the right amounts, and you're going to be taking a lot of them. I'm pretty sure the serving size on this is about 8 pills. At least a couple pills. Legion's is 8 because it adds like ashwagandha and stuff in there, but this one's at least a couple. Anyway, so that's a couple things, just some multivitamins in general. Now, so some of the evidence, I think I have this on the next slide. Yeah, cool. So they did, here's just an example of why multivitamins can matter when it comes to body composition. I think we all have this idea that like multivitamins are important, cool, but like I don't feel a difference. It's not like caffeine's really doing anything. Well, yes, so it is. So here's a study. You can see this on PubMed right here. By the way, if you guys ever want to look at these studies, you'll see PubMed ID and then this number. That's the number that you'll search and it'll pull it right up. Anyway, so this is the effects of a multivitamin and mineral supplementation on fat tissue. Basically, what that means: energy expenditure and lipid profiles in obese women. So, 26-week randomized double-blind trial. Okay, so this is the gold standard of trials. Essentially, it means that this is somebody's taking the supplement, somebody's taking a placebo. Nobody knows who's taking what. Okay, so the people who are taking the multivitamin don't know whether they're taking the multivitamin or the fake stuff. The people who are taking the fake stuff don't know whether they're taking the multivitamin or the fake stuff. Okay, this prevents the placebo effect. Okay, after 26 weeks, the randomly controlled trial basically had a pretty significant drop in body weight and fat mass versus the placebo. It also had, and obviously this will relate, an increase of resting energy expenditure and fat oxidation. The actual amounts, I'd have to look back at the study itself, but it was pretty significant, okay? Meaning that people who were following the exact same diet, the exact same exercise protocols, but had a multivitamin in enough dose in the right stuff. Obviously, this was all tested to make sure it was real stuff. Had a significant improvement in body weight and fat going down and muscle even going up. So it increases your resting energy expenditure, increases your metabolism, which then partially allows you to decrease in weight and fat mass. So it makes a pretty significant effect. Okay, this is just a multivitamin, all right? Never mind all the health benefits of actually having ample amounts of these vitamins and minerals in your body. It actually does correlate to fat loss, okay, which is pretty cool. Now, protein powder. So that same brand, by the way, if you just scan these, you'll bring up Prestige Labs website itself and you can find everything. But protein powder. So obviously, as we go over and over in these programs, these videos, whole foods is always better than shakes, protein bars, whatever. But like I said, for some of you guys, appetite is not an issue. And so we're not trying to make sure that you're eating so much whole food to stay full. But protein amount is an issue, meaning that maybe you're not, crazy full or you're not crazy hungry rather all day, but you are lacking in protein. Protein powder is the highest quality source of protein you can pretty much get. And it's also the leanest. If you mix it with water, you're going to get a lot of protein for a little amount of calories. Now, it's not going to keep you full, but again, if your appetite is not a problem and you're trying to get protein, this is a no-brainer, okay? Obviously, we all get that. Your protein's lacking, take protein, cool. But does higher protein intakes actually help you lose fat? And turns out it does. So if we look at another study, again, PubMed ID right here. So we have high versus low protein during an energy deficit. So they added deficit, they added intense exercise, then they had two groups. One was eating 1.2 grams per kilogram, the other one 2.4 grams per kilogram, and they compared the two, okay? So the deficit was the same. So they basically had the same diets, same calorie deficits, meaning that they should have been losing the same amount of weight regardless. It's just that they filled one of their calories up with more protein and one of them with a little less protein. And what was the results? Lean mass increased, fat mass decreased. Okay, so it did make, again, a significant improvement in lean mass going up, fat mass going down when protein was much higher. Okay, so again, here we have already two studies where you're doing all the work, you're doing the exercise, you're doing the diet, and somebody else is just having a little bit more protein out of their calories and taking a multivitamin. And there was a significant increases in lean mass going up, fat mass going down, body weight going down, just from those two things. Again, though, you need to make sure those multivitamins, whatever you're taking, is legit and real. Okay, that's why I put that link up. Legion is another one that's really good, but whatever you guys are probably taking, if it's not one of those, it's probably garbage. So just be warned. Okay. Um, so there we go. Protein and multivitamin alone, massive differences already, with everything else being equal. Now, creatine. Obviously, we love creatine. I think we've probably hit this one to death over and over. This is the most studied ergogenic aid. This does absolutely increase high intensity capacity and lean mass. This is the biggest performance enhancing thing other than drugs. Literally, this is the only natural supplement that you can take that actually has a significant increase in performance, lean mass, strength, and muscle. Okay. After that, it's drugs, right to testosterone, right to everything else. Creatine is the only thing natural that's capable of actually giving us that big of an improvement. It's that big of a deal. Now, during energy restriction, we always tell you guys that we recommend creatine because it helps prevent muscle loss. When you guys are losing weight, you're already at a risk to lose muscle. The leaner and leaner you get, the more at risk you are to lose muscle. The reason creatine can help so much is namely because it increases your performance, which then increases your ability to sustain muscle. And so it's actually more the performance enhancing effect of creatine that helps you prevent muscle loss rather than creatine itself doing something in the muscle. There are some benefits to having extra creatine stores in the muscle that does itself help, but mostly it's because it actually increases the performance of the muscle. And the higher intensity performance you can get the muscle to put out, the more likely you are to increase in muscle or at least prevent muscle loss during cut. Now, the dosage, no need to load or cycle. This is, you can take this every day for the rest of your life. Rest days, yes. Workout days, yes. Forever, yes. If you're old, yes. If you're young, yes. It doesn't matter. Take it. You don't need to load it. 3 to 5 grams is fine. If you feel like you have some sort of bloat or something like that going on, then just stick to 3 grams. Otherwise, 5. If you feel like, on the other hand, if you're, I would say a little bit higher in body weight, a little bit higher in muscle mass, you can actually take 10. There's some people who are non-responders to creatine that need more, not less. So don't feel bad to take a little bit more, especially if you're on the bigger side of muscle mass. So again, they've done a whole bunch of studies on creatine. This was more on the ISSN that did a whole study on and gave their view of all the literature, basically meta-analyses comparing a whole bunch of different research. But they basically just said, yes, it's safe, it's effective, increases performance and lean mass. The dose is all that's needed, no cycle needed. You can look at this research studied a little bit more. But there's also, above and beyond lean mass, which is obviously super important for us when we're trying to get a body fat percent to go down. We want to make sure muscle stays and fat goes down. And this is the key to do that, or one of the keys to do that. But other than that, also has been shown for, dementia, cognitive benefits, a whole bunch of different benefits that are absolutely crazy. They've used this a lot in elderly populations with huge increases and huge advantages. So really good supplement, hands down. Now, we'll get a little bit weird with the supplements. So you guys have heard me talk about this as well. So if you look at Crush, which you can scan this code here, this is really good for cravings or appetite. All right. If you guys are like me and you crave food, sweets, sold, snacking at night, you name it, this is the supplement to take. Okay. This thing has been shown in research with tons of high quality research to be really effective at actually helping to decrease your cravings and helping to increase satiety or how full you are during a meal and after a meal. Okay. So what actually is it? It's a serotonin precursor. So 5-HTP is hydroxytryptophan. Okay, so this is like what's in turkey. So it's not. It looks crazy. It looks weird, but I promise it's safe. So they've done randomized controlled trials in obese adults and reduced intake and greater weight loss versus placebo. I'll go over that study in a second. In this supplement in particular, you'll see that they recommend to do it at night. This is relative to you. So for most people, that is true, myself included. If you snack at night and that's your crazy time, then this is when you want to take it. but you don't necessarily have to take it at night. If you crave, I don't know, mid-afternoon is your craving, then you can take it then. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that I will say that you do not want to take this if you are on an SSRI, because they could lead to too much serotonin in the brain, which could be potentially poisonous. But that is not because of 5-HTP. It's because of the medication you're already taking, which is an SSRI, which increases serotonin in the brain. And if you take 5-HTP on top of that, it could be a little bit too much. Now, here is the study. So they looked at eating behavior and adherence to dietary prescriptions in obese patients with 5-HTP. Again, this was a randomized controlled trial. People were taking 5-HTP, then other people were not taking 5-HTP. They didn't know whether they were taking it or not, and they let them go. Then they measured the results. And it was shown to reduce carbohydrate intake, increase satiety, which is fullness, and produce greater weight loss versus placebo. So here we have 3 supplements already that have done this. Okay. We have a multivitamin, we have increased protein, and we have 5-HTP that have all looked at 2 different groups of everybody doing the same shit. So exercise being the same, diet being the same, and simply adding in a multivitamin significantly increased fat loss and retained muscle mass. Then you had that with 5-HTP. Same thing. Okay. If you're adding these supplements in, it's not taking any more work for you, and you're going to have a significant improvement with fat loss and lean mass, which is huge. You guys are doing all the hard work. This is the easy stuff. And these are the supplements that actually work when you look at the randomized controlled trials, which, by the way, is all that matters. Now, let's get into sleep. A couple more supplements and we're done. So this does absolutely help fat loss, but indirectly. So short sleep shifts hormones, leptin down, ghrelin up. That means fullness down, hunger up. Okay. Better sleep, better adherence, recovery, and training output. Okay. So when you have better sleep, it does the opposite. Leptin goes up, ghrelin goes down. Okay. It means you're full, you're not hungry. Plus, it increases your training output. Going back to creatine, the main reason why that was so good at improving results in body composition was just simply because it increased your performance. Necessarily, peeping over here. Not necessarily because it itself was so special, but it increased your training output, which then increased how much muscle could be increased. Okay. Sleep does the exact same thing, but like times 10. Okay. So if you're just sleeping better, you're going to be able to put your higher output into the muscle while you work out, which then carries over into increased lean mass, which then carries over into weight loss being more of fat loss. So if you can find something that helps your sleep and gets your better quality sleep, it's a no-brainer. You are literally giving yourself the altered chemicals so that you could stay full, you'd be less hungry, you can train harder, and you can recover harder, and you can increase your muscle better. All right. So they've done this in multiple studies. This one here for you that kind of goes over what we just talked about. But I've actually seen one study in particular, which was absolutely nuts, which looked at the same thing. They were compared 2 groups. One was sleeping 8 hours, I believe it was, a night, and the other one, no, 7, and the other group was sleeping 5. Okay, that was the only difference. So their deficit, the calorie deficit was the same. That means their food was the same, exercise was the same, everything was absolutely the same. And they only had basically a 2-hour difference in sleep. And it led to the group who was sleeping more to have 50% more fat loss and 50% more muscle gain during their program, which is insane. It's 100% difference just in 2 hours of sleep. So if you are one of those who's already not sleeping that much, then your quality of sleep is even more important. The supplements that are in this are amazing. So it has a combination of, let me just make sure I got it here. Okay. So it has a combination of melatonin, which obviously we know helps you fall asleep. It has a combination of lemon balm extract, I believe. I think it has lavender in it. There's a lot of things that will help you calm down and actually go to sleep. It's I take this every single night. It is probably one of my favorite supplements ever, and I have gone through the gamut of sleep issues. Lindsay can tell you that. I've had insomnia my
Yep.
entire life. So this is really, really good supplement. And yes, we absolutely will put the links, Michelle. So really good supplement, really helps. Amazing. A couple pills a night, and boom, you're good to go. Second part of this, another research study: a single night of sleep deprivation increases ghrelin and hunger. Everybody's felt this. I don't think we have to need a study to show this. If you guys have been super sleep deprived and you get up, what do you want to do? You want to eat. Dopamine's going out of control. You want to eat stuff. You want to feel better. You're going nuts. I think we all kind of know this. So again, sleep is a no-brainer. I mean, with everything that we've talked about so far, if we added up all the different effects of simply a multivitamin, again, two groups, everybody doing the same shit. One had multivitamin, one did not, and significant improvement. Okay, same thing with protein. Of the calories you're eating, more of it being protein. Not that the supplement's necessarily needed, but just more protein in general. Supplement can help with that. Creatine, okay, again, same thing. Two groups, everybody doing the same shit. One's taking creatine, one's not. Creatine group can go harder to failure, get more reps to failure, which then increases more lean mass. 5-HTP, you eat less, you're full longer. Everybody doing the same thing, okay? Sleep, same thing, even to a higher degree. There's hormonally shifts, okay? So it's not even doing anything in the moment. It's literally changing the chemistry of your brain to signal that you're full. Never mind how much sleep decreases your activity. It's a whole other thing. Obviously, nobody feels like walking around and moving around all the time if you're really, really sleep deprived, right? I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer too. Now, pre-workout and caffeine. This is something that's really interesting. So caffeine does provide a performance boost. Now, it's nothing compared to getting good sleep and creatine, but it does provide a boost. It's not that significant of a boost. It's more mental. And so people feel like they can work out harder, and so they do, but it's not because caffeine's actually doing anything to the muscle, which sleep and creatine do. They actually help the muscle contract harder and recover faster. Caffeine does it, but it makes you feel like you can, which then does. Okay. So it does have an effect. The problem, though, is you have to be sensitive to caffeine. And people usually get desensitized very quickly. So if you have 100 milligrams or more per day for, I think it's like just 4 or 5 days in a row, which is pretty much everybody, then you start to begin desensitized to caffeine. In other words, the same milligram of caffeine has less and less of an effect, which means you're getting less and less of that performance boost. So much so that a couple weeks down the line, you're not even getting a performance boost anymore. You're just trying to go back to baseline. So like you kind of started here, right? You started to take caffeine, you felt this, and then you kept taking it longer and longer and longer, and you needed more and more to get that same feeling. Eventually, you're having so much caffeine every day that you're just trying to get back to here, right? You're not actually getting the benefit of it. And so the problem with pre-workouts is that they're usually loaded in caffeine, and there's probably no way in hell that you're averaging 100 milligrams or less per day for a week if you're taking pre-workouts. Now, this is why I really like Prestige Labs pre-workout. They separate the pre-workout stack, which is like nitric oxide, citrulline, things like that, which can help promote, the increase of the blood vessels, oxygen blood flow, and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff, which does marginally improve. It's not really that big of an effect, but a little bit. And then it separates that from caffeine. The caffeine pills are separate from the pre-workout. They're not one and the same. So you can take the pre-workout every single day without any desensitive effect. And then the days that you need it, or the days that you're going there, or the days that you're dragging the most, or the days that you have to hit a PR, or the days that you want to go for a big lift, or whatever it is, those are the days that you would add the caffeine on top of it. This way you can still stay overall sensitive. So you should never be having a pre-workout that has caffeine in it, because then you can't control the sensitivity to caffeine. You can actually be doing yourself a disservice, because if you get sensitive to it, then you're actually going to have a performance decrease effect. Some of this is also genetics, but It's a little too short of a presentation to get in on that, but that's why this energy stacks works really well. Legion has something similar now, where they also do separate the two, but this is just so much easier. They've done crazy research on this too. It does increase performance, like I said, but it's not nearly the same as everything else. Now, that is a summary of the supplements that work. Pretty basic stuff, but the ones that actually work and have stood up to the research and the scrutiny. If you want to really know what works and where it can get crazy in terms of how much of an effect supplements can have, that's where you need blood work. Everything that I've talked about up until now is generalized. Okay, because I'm not obviously talking about somebody looking at their blood work and seeing, oh shit, they're super deficient in vitamin D. Let's take 20,000 IUs of vitamin D, and that can have a plus 20% increase in lean mass over the course of a few months, which is crazy. But that's because they're at a deficit, right? So generally speaking, the supplements that I went over are the ones that help everybody, no matter what. And the ones that have stood up to research and randomly controlled trials where they had two different groups, one with placebo, one with the supplement. The ones with the supplement had huge effects or significantly bigger effects, with everything else being equal. And so those are the ones that I would recommend to everybody. The real way that you get the most out of blood work, out of supplements, is through blood work and advanced testing. If you start doing genetic testing, you start doing blood work, advanced blood work, not just some random bullshit, a couple numbers, and you start doing even more advanced testing like neurotransmitter testing, you can really get aggressive with this stuff, and that's when you can take supplements to a whole other level. That's where you're now using supplements almost to have that drug-like effect. Which is really, really powerful. Or even to see what drugs you need. There's certain supplements like antidepressants that work based on how much your neurotransmitters you're actually secreting. And that's where these things come from. So if you really want to get the most out of supplements, it comes down to blood work. It's understanding where you're at, what's going on, what you need, and then filling those holes strategically based on you instead of looking at generalities. But again, you need blood work for that. If you guys are interested in any of that, let us know. You can message me or Lindsay after this. I can get blood work prescription for you guys pretty quickly and easily. You have to pay out of pocket for with the companies that I work with, or I can tell you what to get tested, and you can try to get it tested on your own. But either way, getting blood work can give you a lot more of an in-depth view into what you need specifically. And you get into hormones and all that kind of stuff. That's where peptides come in, all this crazy stuff. But in terms of actual supplements, that's all that we can actually recommend from a body composition perspective. So multivitamins, yes. I would say protein powder, only if you're deficient in protein. But high protein does help tremendously. Creatine, yes, absolutely. 5-HTP, if you guys are craving things or you're overeating or you find yourself mindlessly eating or snacking or craving salt or sugar, then fuck yes, definitely 100%. Just make sure you're not taking SSRIs. Sleep support, everybody should be taking this supplement. I don't care who you are. Nobody's sleeping that good. Nobody's sleeping enough. You probably need this, even though you don't realize it, or hope you probably do realize it. Pre-workout, I honestly wouldn't recommend a pre-workout. But if you are going to take one, make sure you separate the caffeine from the actual pre-workout. And that's why I would recommend this, because otherwise you're going to kind of shoot yourself in the foot. And that's pretty much it. So there's really not that much in terms of supplements that are useful for everybody on a grand scheme. They're only selectively useful. The ones that I went over are the ones that are absolutely useful for everybody. For sure. Cool. Yeah, I think that's it. So, anybody have any questions? Hit me.
I also just put all of this in the WhatsApp group, all the links to everything, so it's easy to find. I did put them in the chat in this group too, but it's in the WhatsApp group too. I'll put it on the WhatsApp group homepage too.
When I upload this video to the monthly clinic part, I'll add it to that too.
Okay.
By the way, you guys, in the school homepage, this is all located in the monthly clinic part. So when you go to classroom at the top, I think it's called monthly clinics, right, Linz? The
Yep.
fuck's it called? Yeah, right.
It is monthly clinic recordings.
Yeah, so when you go into there, all these monthly deep dives that we do are in there. This one will be in there probably tomorrow. We'll post it in there as soon as we do. But we have a bunch of them in there. Um, that's super useful. So what's the best time of day to take vitamin D? Doesn't really matter. Vitamin D doesn't really have a better time. I would just take it in the morning with a meal, like with fat or something can help. But honestly, what helps the most is just getting it in every day. It's kind of like creatine, where technically you do absorb it a little bit better post workout, but the marginal improvement that you'll get from getting it post workout every day instead of just taking it in the morning, let's say, is very small. And as soon as you miss taking creatine one day because you took it post workout, it's a rest day and you forgot to take it, then the other guy who's taking it in the morning every day already far superseded you or far outweighed you, in terms of the potency and the effect that they're getting. So my point to that is just take it at a time that you'll always remember. So just taking the first thing you get up when you go to bed, I don't know, whatever that is for you that's easier, that's when you take it. Just to make sure that you actually always take it. That's most important with all supplements. By the way, there's some supplements that are better with fat, some supplements that are better post workout, and all that kind of stuff. But the what is it? The imperfect plan you follow is always better than the perfect plan that you don't. um, and with this stuff, it's the same shit. So taking it every day is most important, regardless of the timing, because there's even some supplements that will affect each other in terms of absorption rates and things like that. The ones that we've gone over, not really so much. Once you get into taking high amounts of certain supplements, they do sometimes compete with absorption. But again, that's the few percent game right there. Like if you're taking it every single day, like clockwork for the last 6 months, then we could talk about that kind of stuff because that can maybe facilitate a little bit better. But if we're just starting this stuff, it's just take it every day, take all the supplements at once if it's easier. Worry about what's battling what later on, so make it a little easier for you guys. How many milligrams of 5-HTP is standard? So I believe it's around 250 milligrams to 500. That 5-HTP, if you just take that as if you take the crush supplement as directed, you'll be good. But around 250 to 500 is probably the standard dose for appetite, because it could also be used for serotonin, but it's a different thing.
Yeah, because that's what I take now. I've been taking it for a while.
Oh, really?
I don't know if my body's just resistant to certain things, or it could also be, I guess, maybe something else to, how does women's hormones play into this? Because it could also be because it's that time of the month, like my cravings have. So
yeah.
that's something, my cravings have been off the hook like these past 2 days, but I'm in that cusp of like I'm even though all my lab works according to my OB are great and I'm not in perimenopause or anything like that, I feel like I am and I'm feeling those symptoms, but she's saying it's not. But again, my period has been on and off. I'm going through changes.
Yeah, you're feeling
so that 5-HTP is not working. I've been hitting my past few days, even the sleep. I rub magnesium on my body. I take the magnesium at night, the pills. What else? I mean, I don't know. How do you answer that question?
Sleeping shitty too.
Yeah, like last 2 days have been the most, but again, I'm in that point right now where I'm like in between. It's not a full menstrual cycle, but it's the spotting. It's like, It's crazy what my body's going through. And it's, I don't know. So how do you answer that question? How do you tie all that in?
Yeah. So if it's truly hormone based, really the only thing that you could do is fight it with hormones. Like HRT, hormone replacement therapy, things like that is really the only thing you could do if it's truly hormonal. Like with, when you go through menopause, your ovaries stop producing estrogen, fat tissue begins producing estrogen. That's where all these changes happen. This is usually where estrogen tanks, testosterone tanks, and like you can't really fix that with anything other than actual hormones. If that's what's causing it, it could be a combination of different things. It could just be, the menstrual cycle temporarily. It could become, combination of sleep, shitty sleep, cortisol going up from being stressed, or like all these different things that could be just stacking the deck in dopamine's favor. In other words, like your brain is just like, get dopamine. Like we feel like shit, get the fuck out of here. And so you're going crazy in terms of your cravings. Dopamine itself could be its own thing, where that's could be separate from hormones. That's the only other thing that I would think of. Like if it's truly a hormone thing, which is definitely easily measured. So like if your doctor looked at that and said, well, doctors sometimes are not the brightest with this stuff. Sometimes
Yes, I agree. I agree.
yeah, which is sad. But sometimes, like, if they think that you're perimenopausal, they'll expect a certain decrease in hormones, and they'll see a huge drop off in hormones. And be, oh yeah, this is normal, but it's not fucking normal. I mean, technically it's normal, but it can be fixed. So it's not like it has to stay that way. So like, if it is hormonal, then absolutely hormones can fix it, which is super safe. Like it's not. Hormones have been, like, especially estrogen, has been shitting on for a while for some reason. It was based on research, like old research, when they used to use estrogen that wasn't bioidentical. So basically they would create this type of estrogen that wasn't really what you had in your body. Then when they injected that, it caused a whole bunch of shit. But that's not the estrogen that we use anymore. So like that stuff is easily corrected. But if hormones really aren't that tanked, it could just be a dopamine thing too. Some people, like myself, have a really low production and or a high cleanup rate of dopamine or breakdown rate of dopamine, meaning that like resting levels of dopamine are really low. So your body's always screaming for dopamine. And then that's where the cravings come from. That's where all this shit comes from. That's where even decreased sleep can come from, because you're on edge all the time. You're like running around going crazy. So it could be a couple different things. I would say that the things that you can immediately stack in your favor is sleep. Like the more sleep you get, the better quality sleep by far is like number one. That dramatically changes the chemistry of your brain. That's number one. Then anything you do to decrease stress, like so as soon as stress hits or your cravings hit, which could also mean that stress is hitting, then cortisol just increasing the craving. So it may not be like a craving standalone. It could be stress that's going up and then you're feeling it through a craving. And
It's not definitely not stress related in this case. So it's just because I've been calm, cool, collective, and everything's cool.
So it's not stress, then it's probably just, it could actually be hormones. I mean, the 5-HTP and stuff will only help to like a point with that.
Right.
I would probably try to use your cravings for yourself or your benefit. Basically, it's kind of like I don't know if anybody ever read The Republic by Plato. This is really going somewhere different. But so anyway, I'm trying to remember what Socrates always said. But he basically had this the fuck. I'm gonna fuck this up. No, the man, the wolf, and the three-headed hydra or some shit. He basically said, stay with me, it's gonna make sense. I promise. But he usually said that the problem with most people is that the man is in the cage and the lion is guarding the cage, and the three-headed hydra is basically using the lion to guard the cage to imprison the man. And it's supposed to be the complete opposite, right? It's supposed to be like the hydra, which is the beast, your inner demons, your cravings, whatever, is in the cage. The lion is protecting the cage, and the human is protecting the lion, right? The point of all that is you could do that with cravings, right? So if you have all these cravings, you got the fucking three-headed hydra that's just running a mess. You could potentially get him to work for you, but you'd have to use what you're craving as a reward for what you need to do. So like if you're craving sweets or salts or something like that, pick what it is that you actually want, but then put that over here only when and if you do X, Y, and Z. And then like you're still getting the craving, you're still eating the thing, but but you're doing the stuff before it that actually allows it to be okay, if that makes sense. It's like a
Yeah.
very temporary way to like still have the craving, still get the craving, but do it in a way that actually helps. Which can help. I know that's not really by what you want to hear, but but then it's comes down to food volume and things like that too. Like you do want to stay full, have a meal that's going to be super filling, and then have the thing that you want, whether it's sweet or salty, and try to have a lower calorie version of it if you can. This way, it's you're not going crazy and you're not just eating the sweet or salt by itself and just eating a shit ton of it. You can have something beforehand that will actually fill you up. And then the 5-HTP should help that make that even more full, but then you're still going to have the craving, which is separate. But then the amount of the thing that you have that you're craving should be significantly less if you had everything else. If that kind of makes sense. But
No, I got it.
you have the blood work, right? Did you send it to me? Did I see it?
Yeah. The only thing that you said was missing is that the doctor didn't, my OB didn't test my. I think you said my testosterone level. I think
you did do testosterone. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but everything else was. She said it's fine. I'm good. She wouldn't put me on any